Usually only one of three of those toilets works. And the other night, one of them backed up and literally spewed feces everywhere, all over the place. And they were just in it for a couple hours. And then apparently after like a night, they were moved.
Congressman, you went in person yesterday to what's being called Alligator, Alcatraz. That alone is a disgusting name. We saw the press conference where you talked about what you saw firsthand. I guess the best you can, how bad was it?
It was horrible. And this is with them knowing we were coming, right? Usually when I do these detention visits, we ensure that it's unannounced so we can actually see what things are actually like. When you announce your visit, they're going to clean stuff up. They're going to make sure there's no flooding. They're going to clean up the toilets. They're going to give everybody a shower the night before, that's actually what happened this time. But even with them knowing we were coming, having a 3-day notice, the conditions were horrible. 32 men stuffed in a cage. Each cage only has 3 toilets. They wouldn't even let us see the toilets, which, believe it or not, it's one of the biggest complaints we've gotten about the facility is that usually only one of 3 of those toilets works. And the other night, one of them backed up and literally spewed feces everywhere, all over the place. And they were just in it for a couple hours. And then apparently after like a night, they were moved. And so I was wanting to see that, but they wouldn't let me in to see it. And when I say wouldn't let me in, I'm going to be specific for people watching. There were armed guards keeping me from moving in, right? They only let me stand at the door to peek in. And I had hundreds of these men yelling at me, yelling, help me. There was a guy yelling, tell my family I'm okay. He was yelling a phone number. I got like the first few digits and I couldn't hear him because he was pretty far back. And then they started chanting libertad, which means freedom. It was very emotional. It was hot in there. Many of them had taken off their jumpsuits because it was so hot. They were sweating.
What is Congress's next step to put an end to this inhumanity? And let me add on to that question. Kristi Noem has announced she's in talks with 5 other Republican-led states about opening 5 more of these facilities.
What is Congress as a whole going to do? I mean, we'll see. I would assume nothing because it's run by the Republicans. What am I going to do? A few things. Number one, I'm going back. I need to do an unannounced trip because I need to see things for how they actually are. The second thing is I was able to confirm that they told me, the general counsel told me straight up, give me 48 hours in advance and a list of names. And if they say they're down to, you can speak to whoever you want to speak to. So right now we are collecting the names, stories, and information of constituents I have that are in the facility, and we're looking at doing a trip to do wellness checks on them and talk with them a little bit about what they've been experiencing. In a few days, I'll be giving a speech on the House floor detailing exactly what I saw to make sure it's in the congressional record. We'll also be posting this as well, and we're hoping that this information could be used in current litigation and pending litigation, which could ultimately get this thing shut down. Right now, Friends of the Everglades and a few environmental organizations are suing the state for having this facility in the Everglades. The state came out and said the federal government has nothing to do with it, and it's part of what's keeping this thing afloat is them saying it's just state run and they seize the ground for state purposes. That's not true. When I was in that facility, I was told straight up that ICE is calling all the shots. It is a federal detention center, right, that is operated and was built by the state. That changes things for these lawsuits, right? And so I got to make sure, though, that I get this out every medium possible. I'm writing an op-ed. I'm going to go out and give a speech. We're going to do a bunch of different things. The other thing is there's a list of legislation I'm co-sponsoring that will help with different bits and pieces of it. I also introduced the SUDEM Act, which is a piece of legislation which would make it so that way ICE has to publish who's in a facility, why they're in the facility, what facility they're going to next, what was the use of force, every little bit of information. Because for people who don't know, lawyers, family members, advocates, once you're picked up by ICE, it's like you've disappeared from the earth. You don't know where people are at. And it's making it so that way people can't advocate on behalf of their loved ones. That's about like 5 things I'm gonna do in the next several weeks. And my hope, though, we only need 3 of those Republicans to join us on a discharge petition that can pass a law to shut something like this down. There's 3 Cuban Republicans in Miami who have come out and said they don't agree with the facility. But these people are all talk. These people are all talk. So I'm thinking about the ways that we could put the pressure on them.
I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong because you've been there, I feel like this location, the Everglades, middle of swamp, that in it of itself adds to the inhumanity of it all, given the weather, the bugs, the creatures. Is that accurate?
It is. There's bugs everywhere. There's mosquitoes everywhere. And actually, a lot of times, the mosquitoes are more dangerous than gators. because the mosquitoes a lot of times carry illnesses, and when you're not fully protected from it, you can get really sick, and sometimes those can be fatal or life changing. The guy who was driving our van around, he's a staff member at this facility. He even was telling me about how bad the bugs are, and that guy's a staff member who's not locked in a cage.
Do they have medics on site?
They have a third party company running the medic operation on site. I spoke with this company. They could barely give me answers to anything. And that's the other thing everyone should know. Technically, it's not a privately run detention center, but I would tell you for all intensive purposes, it's a private prison. I barely saw any law enforcement in the facility. It was all this private security company running the whole damn thing. The people doing the food, outside vendor. The people doing the medicine, outside vendor. Everything is a company running the whole thing. So it's essentially a private prison, a private internment camp, right? In the middle of the Everglades. So the location is part of the cruelty, and the cruelty isn't just the point; it's the strategy and the whole thing. I mean, I've heard from a few folks who spoke with their lawyers and told them, you know what, I'm not going to fight this detention order or this deportation order because they told me if I fight it, I'll be here longer, and I don't want to be here any longer.
Oh my goodness.
This is the purpose of a lot of these detention centers across the entire nation, right? They all, for the most part, are horrible conditions meant to really demoralize immigrants who are in there as they fight a deportation order. I remember I went to Baker, which is another facility in North Florida, and I met with two Haitian gentlemen who said, "I literally rather fight for my life on the streets of Haiti, sleep on the streets of Haiti, than fight legally to stay in the United States right now because I hate this facility and I want to leave." They signed their deportation orders the next day.
That's very good information. I have not heard nobody else put it that way.
And the thing about it, and everyone should know, because a lot of people are asking, what can I do to help with this facility? Well, thank you. We want you to talk about this facility, but I promise you, you are within an hour or two, maybe three, of a very similar facility in your backyard. These detention facilities are across the country. A lot of them are privately run, privately owned, and they're horrible conditions. So ask your member of Congress, go and do the visit. And for people who are saying, what does the visit do? Let me give you two reasons why these are important. Number one, when we went, I spoke with lawyers who spoke with their clients who were in there, who said magically the night before we showed up, they got their first shower. Magically the night before we showed up, they got their first really good meal out of nowhere. When you show up, our presence there literally helps with the conditions, literally from one day to another. Obviously, it's temporary, which is why doing constant visits and keeping these people on their toes is important. Because if I show up unannounced one day and I show up the next week or something like that, they'll never know when to expect me showing up. And the second reason is we're some of the only people that can go in and conduct these oversight visits, take that information and bring it to the public eye and talk about very specific things going on. And actually, the third one I just thought of is the wellness checks. No one else can go in there and speak with a family member. And if you don't have a family member in detention, you don't feel like this isn't something that's worthwhile doing. I'll tell you, when you only can talk with your family member once a week for like 3 minutes on a phone when there's like a million other men in line and they're getting harassed to get off the line, you can't fully understand how your family member's doing. And so if I can go in there and have that conversation and report it to that family, I think that's really worth it. And so ask your member of Congress, like go and do a visit, go to these detention facilities, go unannounced. And if they don't let you in, get it on video because it's obviously illegal.
Right, Congressman, I really appreciate you. Number one, going down there and peeping in and telling and letting the public know what's in there. Number two, I appreciate you following up, and I'm sure we'll be talking again in the future with what you plan to do. Thank you so much.
Thanks, brother.